Hey guys, Debbie and John here. Welcome back to the App Show.
We've had a lot of people ask us, how do you actually get your company to adopt Google Apps once you switch over? Well, we're going to tackle that issue today, starting with Google Sheets.
Some big announcements this week. The first one is that you can now use suggested edits between Microsoft Office and Google Docs. If you're importing a document from Microsoft Office, track changes will now automatically convert to suggested edits. And if you're exporting a document from Google Docs to Microsoft Office, suggested edits will automatically convert to track changes.
Also, if you use filter views, we have two updates for you. First is you don't have to have edit access anymore to actually create a filter view in a spreadsheet. Second is if you want to share that specific filter view, you can actually get a link now that you can share out with your team.
We're going to cover three major functionalities that people look for when they open Google Sheets. The first is filters, which Sheets still has. A filter is when you want to take your data and look at only a subset. For example, if you have a spreadsheet with global support ticket traffic on it and you want to look at just the American tickets.
And here's the thing, Google tools are collaborative. So if you're in a spreadsheet, there might be several other people working at the same time in that same sheet. So if you want to look at the European information compared to the Americas, you can create your own personalized view so you don't mess with anybody else as you're filtering through the information. It's called a filter view.
To create a filter view, let's open the spreadsheet where we would like to create it. We're going to click on the Data menu, hover over Filter Views, and select Create a New Filter View. Using the down arrows in the column headers, we can sort and filter the data to fit our desired views. Our filter view will be saved as we make the changes. So here we're going to select Ticket Type 3, and we're going to select Americas. To name it, you can click the current name in the black bar of the filter view. Delete the text and type in the new name. Here we're going to name ours Americas Type 3. Press Enter. While you're in the filter view, you can go to Data, Filter Views, Filter View Options to rename, delete, duplicate, or change the range for our filter. To close a new filter view, you can either click the X in the top right corner of the spreadsheet, or you can click the down arrow to the right of the filter icon and select None. So now we're going to try applying a different filter view. We're going to go back to Data, Filter Views, and we're going to select one that's been previously saved by another teammate to see that filter applied.
The next functionality we'll talk about is pivot tables, which is the easiest way to summarize data in Google Sheets.
If you're used to pivot tables in Excel, it'll work slightly differently here.
So you have a sheet tracking your support team's tickets, and you want to see how many tickets each region has resolved. From the Data menu, select Pivot Table Report. Pivot tables always need a value, so add that first. We're going to use resolve date here and summarize by count to show quantity. Now as the columns, use the ticket type. For row, we'll use the region and filter to make sure that resolve date isn't blank. That way, we'll only get fully resolved cases. Click outside the pivot table and note that your table options go away, and they return when you click inside the pivot table.
Next, if you want to reference data from one workbook and another one, you used to be able to connect workbooks by pointing to a physical file location.
You'll now be using a functionality in Google Sheets called Import Range instead.
Let's go back to our example. So if we want people in the department to see the ticket ID and who worked on it, but not how long it took to resolve or the salary details, you're going to use Import Range. So let's open a new workbook. Type in your import range formula. It's going to be import range and a spreadsheet key and a range string. In classic Sheets, the spreadsheet key is a long sequence of characters in the key equals attribute of the URL. In the new Google Sheets, use the entire URL. The range string specifies which range you want to import. So the first time you use an import range with two workbooks, you'll need to give the second one access to the first one's data. You'll see a button asking you to do so. You can stack import ranges using curly braces around multiple formulas. So if you want, you can import the ticket ID and the assignee name, which aren't next to each other and in the same range, at the same time. For more information on import range, you can always check the Google Help Center article here.
Finally, a few more tips when working with Google Sheets, one of them being keyboard shortcuts. So you can click this link here, or if you're in a sheet, you can click Command or Control and the question mark for a full list.
If there are some functions that you used to look for as menu items or buttons, they may now be formulas. For example, text to columns is now a formula called split, and remove duplicates is now a formula called unique.
So this segment has really been focused on how to use familiar features in Google Sheets. Well, if you want to learn more about exclusive Google functionality, click this video. And Max, who is a Google analyst, actually builds training on spreadsheets, and we'll show you some cool stuff.
And if you have any other questions about Sheets or favorite tips and tricks you want to share, let us know in the comments down below.
Thanks for subscribing. What you're going to do now, we'll see you next week.
So far in our series, we've talked about Drive, and we've been asked to discuss change management for files and folders, specifically file naming, sharing, and folder hierarchy. So when it comes to naming files, you want to think about search.